the single greatest hair of all time. We are broadcasting directly from Mount Vernon. Actually, we're not, but we are broadcasting with Mount Vernon. We are coming, if you don't know Mount Vernon, you know it is the home of one person. So what book are we reading today? What does the flag tell you? What does the hair tell you? It is one thing and one thing only that we are reading. George Washington. No, save it. Trust me, it's going to be good. Not yet. We have a big show. This is in honor. I'm telling you, Mount Vernon came to me and said, will you read George Washington to kids? I said, I would love to do nothing more. So we're doing exactly that right now. And I want you to know there's a link somewhere on here. And this is not to be about selling books, but every book you buy through Mount Vernon, the proceeds go to help the staff of Mount Vernon right now who are struggling and who need your help. So I know that you can say, oh, I can get it cheaper here or there. Buy it here at Mount Vernon. The money goes to Mount Vernon, which I love. So please think about that. We are ready to read. Here we go. You ready? I am George. Not yet. I promise we'll get there. Here we go. I am ready. I am George Washington by our favorite author, Brad Meltzer. Illustrated, as always, by the greatest artist in the whole world, Chris Eliopoulos. And Chris will tell you, if you ask him, I made him draw and redraw over and over George Washington's hair because I needed it to look this good. This good. And wait till you see, you're going to see stuff today. I'm going to tell you the secret of George Washington's hair. It's going to blow your mind. So get ready. Here we go. I am George Washington. We open up with, guess where we are? Mount Vernon. This is the place itself. I am George Washington, establishing shop, Mount Vernon. Guess who has slept at Mount Vernon? I know George Washington, Martha Washington, and this person. They let me sleep at Mount Vernon. They did. They invited me a couple years ago. I'm not joking. When we were doing the first conspiracy, they invited me to Mount Vernon. I presented at Mount Vernon, and they let me sleep there. And if I survived, I own it. Acting. Anyway, here we go. You know what one of the hardest things in life is? Being the first. When you're the first to try something new, there's no one to show you the way. But when I was little, I wasn't the first. I was the fourth of 9 children. It's a lot of sisters and brothers. When I was really little, I lived at a place called Mount Vernon, which had a huge river running through the backyard and unexplored forests in every direction. At 5 years old, this was the world I knew. If you wanted to explore the forest, you had to be the first one to go inside. Think you're brave enough to go in there, George? Not yet, he says, but I will be. This guy's made brave. People will tell you that I was a perfect boy. They'll say I didn't tell a lie after I chopped down a cherry tree. But that cherry tree story, that's not true. Like most boys back then, I liked swimming, fishing, and riding horses. I was a decent athlete, but nothing spectacular. Mostly, I was an ordinary kid. We have to remember that. George Washington's just an ordinary kid. I liked books and even liked to dance. I was great at it. He was a great dancer, like myself. In school, my best subject was math. I was pretty good at writing, but I was always a terrible speller. And he was telling me, he spelled beginning wrong. He spelled harvest wrong. He says, don't you realize I'm going to be one of the world's best leaders? And he says, I believe that almost as much as I believe you're a great dancer. But remember when I said that it's hard to be the first? It's easier when there's someone showing you how it's done. This is my brother, Lawrence. He was 14 years older than me. No one had a bigger impact on my life. What are you wearing? He says, my military uniform. So I can fight for our country. You like it? It's amazing. I loved hearing the stories of his adventures. Thanks to my brother, I knew I wanted to serve in the military. Soon, though, I saw how uncertain life could be. When I was 11, my dad died. We couldn't afford proper schooling, so my brother had to teach me at home. I didn't go to high school or college, but I was committed to learning and building myself. He says, you spelled it wrong. He says, then I'll do it again. As a boy, I copied all the rules from a book of virtues. There were 110 in all. Number 11, don't gnaw your nails. Don't bite your nails. Number 12, don't stand too close to people when talking or you'll spit on them. Still good advice for all of us. Number 100, don't use a fork or a knife to clean your teeth. Instead, use a toothpick. The most important one was the first one. Every action done in company ought to be done with some sign of respect. I guess that one covers spitting on people too, which it does. When I turned 15, my mother told me I needed to get a job. Since I was good at math and precision, I became a surveyor, someone who explores large areas of land to find their boundaries. At 16, I went with a wealthy family called the Fairfaxes, here they are, to survey the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Shenandoah Valley. There were no roads. The rain was fierce. And one night, the straw mat I was sleeping on caught fire. Look at the fire! The next night was even harder, but we kept going. Don't give up. There was something special in treading a new path, something beautiful in doing what no one had ever done before. I love this page, by the way. I love when Chris drew it. Just being around the Fairfaxes changed my life. Look how fancy. They helped me get work. I observed how they lived, how they dressed, and how they ate. I even learned how to properly dance. Dance again, right? He really does like to dance. That's not a joke. He was a great dancer. At the Fairfaxes, I ate with fine silver and beautiful china. At home, I ate with sticks and at a fire, right? There's kind of two sides to his life. There's like this wealthy side and just sitting alone with sticks and fire. It was as if I lived in two worlds, but to me, both were equally important. When I got older, I joined the military. In my first big battle, I was on the British side, fighting against the French and Native Americans. Look at this battle that Chris drew. It's amazing, right? I was shot nearly 4 times. 4 musket balls ripped through my clothing. Pow, pow, pow. That's a sound effect. But nothing could stop me. While others were screaming, I raced across the battlefield, keeping people calm. We lost the battle, but I became the commander of all of Virginia's fighting forces. At the age of 23, I ran for office to be a member of the House of the Virginia Legislature. Now, here's the important part. I lost. That's right. I lost. And he says, next time I'm going to be better organized. Look at this. He's going to be. It didn't stop me. I tried again, and this time I won. In fact, I won re-election every time after that. But the world as I knew it was about to change. Remember when I was growing up? The United States didn't exist yet. Back then, there were no states, just colonies, all of them controlled by England. The king's unfair. He wants us to pay for everyday things like stamps and tea. We deserve to be free, they're saying. That's what's going to happen. In April 1775, the first shots, pew, pew, were fired in Massachusetts in Lexington and Concord. It took 8 days for the news of this new American Revolution to reach me. Are we going to let the colonists in Massachusetts fight alone? Or are we going to join them, right? Join or die, that's the question. It was one of the biggest questions in all of history. The answer came in a meeting called the Second Continental Congress. Our 13 colonies decided we would fight together against King George III. All we needed was a leader for the battle. Guess who they chose? You look like you're in charge. Now look at that, right? Some say it was because I was a natural leader. Some say it was because I was taller than everyone else. But let me tell you a secret. I was the only one wearing a military uniform. It wasn't an accident. On that day, I came ready to lead, ready to do the job, ready to be the first. Was it easy to be in power? Never. Look at this cold scene right now. Our side didn't have enough food, clothing, or weapons. Their side was well-fed and well-armed. Our side didn't have trained soldiers. We were farmers and fishermen. Their side was the greatest fighting force in the whole world. In the winter at Valley Forge, some of our troops didn't eat for days. They wore rags and had to go barefoot in the snow. Now get ready for this one. You're going to know this scene. So how do we win? We were smarter. We wrote plans in invisible ink so the British couldn't read them, right? Isn't that cool? Invisible ink. My secret code name was 7-Eleven. We were sneakier. We launched surprise raids like this one when we crossed the Delaware River. What is that? Is that supposed to, what is that? Come on. What is this? This is not, look at this boat. In the picture, in the famous painting, they always show you this boat with him standing on. That's not what he did. He didn't stand up. He wouldn't stand up. Chris, we got the art right. This is what our special effects department in Mount Vernon supplied us with. This is from Cars, I think, the movie. That's what this is. Wait, this is not any better. This is totally from Cars. This is my son's toy. This is not what it was like at all. Historically, completely inaccurate. I mean, I'm just going to tell you right now. This is not. I'm not even laughing. Look at this thing. This is what it looked like. This is what the boat looked like. But most important, the way they won is we wouldn't give in. They were fighting for a king. We were fighting for a cause, for freedom. Also, let's not forget, we had a weapon they'd never have. We had George Washington. After we beat the British Army, a new government was formed. I presided over the convention that wrote our Constitution, which created the new laws for our country. The brand new United States of America was free to explore its own future. Now all we needed was to pick our first president. Someone brave, someone strong, someone trustworthy enough to handle all that power. Again, guess who they chose? Spoiler alert, you know who it is. Dun, dun, dun. You know, you're so popular, you could have made yourself king, they tell him. He says, yes, I know. That's the greatest thing George Washington gave us, right? He could have been the king. He had faith in us and faith in our country. At the end of the American Revolution, King George III asked someone what George Washington planned to do after the war. The king was told that George was going to return to his farm. If he does that, King George said, he will be the greatest man in the world. And that's exactly what he did. And he did it again when he left the presidency after his second term. Some say it was my most heroic act. In fact, I just said that. Instead of putting myself first, I put my faith in our country. I put my faith in you. This is the part I love. You know I love these parts. Here we go. Ready? In life, there are many ways to lead. You can be a quiet leader, a tough leader, a bold leader. But leadership isn't about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. Right? Think about that. Leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. When you're in a position of power, always look out for those who put their faith in you. And always forge your own road, because sometimes the most important trail is the one no one has taken before. When you do those things, you will clear a path that will lead the way for others. And look at this. We stole stuff from Mount Vernon. Not really, but we put it in the book. Here we go. Every year, you know, we still celebrate his birthday. He's the only state named after a president. And here's the secret about my hair. Ready? People think that George Washington wore a wig. He didn't. He never wore a wig. He powdered his hair white because that was a style back then. I want you all to know that's exactly what I did today. I powdered my hair white. My wife literally just started laughing. She's listen to that. You can hear her laughing. She is laughing right now. First of all, just because that's what happens when I improv, right? I make my wife laugh. She's laughing at my jokes. Boys and girls out there, find someone who will laugh at your awful jokes. That's the person who you marry. Look, she even laughed at that. I just love that he wore fake teeth. Look, we put the fake teeth in there. They weren't made of wood, though. Everyone thinks he has wooden teeth. They weren't. They were made of ivory, which is gross, right? But you can see him at Mount Vernon. Not anymore, you know. I'll tell you what happened to teeth after. Leadership doesn't come from charisma or personality. It comes from courage. The courage to do what's right. The courage to serve others. The courage to go first. I am George Washington. Today they call me the father of our country. I have the courage to do what no one's done before. Bum, bum, bum. Ba, 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 ba. George Washington. That's his theme song, by the way. This is actually George Washington's real shield. You can also see it at Mount Vernon. And all of this is historically accurate. Actually, the book is, the shield is not, but we celebrate George Washington. This is actually Captain America's real shield. It's really heavy. And that's it. That is I Am George Washington by myself, by Chris Eliopoulos. What I love to do now is make sure we answer some of your questions. You can ask them somehow below by typing in. But I will tell you all this. It says, David Fraley wants to know, is this based on a true story? Is this based on a true story? It's the story of George Washington. That is the true story. Every fact in this book, it's real. It's real. The shield was not. That was for comedy. But yes, this is absolutely a true story. One of the greatest stories we ever have. It's a story not just of George Washington. It's a story of our country. Right? George Washington's arguably the most famous American who ever lived. We know so little about him as a person. But now you get to know things, right? You know he liked to dance, which I know you're not going to forget. You know about his teeth, about his hair. And you know that he lost. That's the most important thing in here, right? He lost, which I love. I love the fact that, he's not come out perfect. Okay, let's see. Jessica's question. How long does it take for you and Chris, who she wrote? By the way, how long does it take for you and Christ to write and illustrate the books? Did I write these books with Jesus? I know that I'm going to assume that's a typo, Jessica. So I will answer the question. Oh, it's from Sophia 10. Jessica writing for us. Sophia, this is a great question. How long does it take to write these books? It takes me we take about a month of research. It takes weeks of writing, and Chris takes probably at least a month or more to draw it, and then he has to probably another 2 weeks when he has to redraw all the things that I asked him to make look better. So we have all these versions of George Washington with different hair that I made him draw like 15 times. So that always takes long. So Sophia, great question. I thank you for asking that one. Okay, let's see what other question we have. Angie, who I know, love, how many times have you been to Mount Vernon? Oh, that's a good question. So I went to Mount Vernon when I used to live in DC. That's where I bought the hair. And then I think I've been 3 times total. I went with my parents, and then Mount Vernon let me sleep there. And anytime they let you sleep in Mount Vernon, go to sleep at Mount Vernon. It's the best ever. Because you know what happens? You get to they let you wear all George Washington's clothes. You get all of his stuff. No, you don't. You don't. What you do, though, is you get to sleep at Mount Vernon. That's really cool. Okay, let's see other questions. Drew asked, where can we get a shirt? Oh, the shirt. Thank you, Caden. That's a good question. So this, you know what's so funny is we started doing these books, obviously, to give our kids better heroes. We always talk about better heroes. But the first thing we made before we made books is I made these shirts for my kids. That's why it's also so tight, by the way. And this was Chris's first drawing. It's actually perfect. When I first asked him to draw George Washington, this is how he drew him. You can look at it like it's obviously, I know my manly chest is distracting you all right now, but you can see the difference in kind of how much better the drawing got as we went. And this was kind of the early version. But you can go to bradmeltzer.com. The shirts are there. I know Lincoln's there. I know Amelia Earhart's there. I don't even know if George Washington's there. But if not, you inspired me, Caden. I'm going to have to try and get one up there. Okay, Wayne says, how many other presidents have you written about? From Ella, who is 4 years old. Ella, thank you for that. Let's see which ones we can see back here. We got, let's see if we have it here. Do we have them? No, we have Abraham Lincoln. We have, what else do we do? I think that's all we've done. We have Abraham Lincoln and George Washington. We picked 2 good ones. If you like this era of time, I will tell you that the next hero that we're doing is, that comes out, we just did Leonardo da Vinci, but he's not a president. The next one that comes out is in September. We're doing Ben Franklin. I think you can see in this book, but wait till you see Chris Drum as a kid. Look at Ben Franklin here. Here it is, big. That's Ben Franklin, really big. And then you're going to see Ben Franklin really, really awesome. His book is amazing. And also you get to see a cameo by. Okay, let's see. Next question. Heather says, can you tell us who you'll be writing about next? Okay, so yeah, so thanks, Heather. Ben Franklin is next. Leonardo da Vinci came out last week. So Leonardo da Vinci, Ben Franklin comes in September. And with Ben Franklin, arguably our most important book, we're doing Anne Frank. Very important book right now. We really want to do Anne Frank. We felt like just the way the world is right now. And Anne is an amazing, amazing story. I think you're going to really like that one. So that comes with Ben Franklin. Those both come out in September. And then we're doing in hardcover for your parents watching this in 10 days. We're doing a book about Abraham Lincoln, about the secret plot to kill Abraham Lincoln. Not the plot that killed him, but the one that got foiled by a secret society. Oh, look at this. My wife just handed it to me. Dun, 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 product placement. The Lincoln Conspiracy, 10 days. So that's the other presidential book that's coming. I think totally appropriate for 4-year-old to like 6-year-olds. No, it's for adults. Craig says, Catherine, age 8, wants to know which book you are going to read live next. She says you are awesome. Thank you, Craig. I think I'm pretty sure also, by the way, I'm going to take a guess here. I think it's Catherine's birthday, so special happy birthday to her. And I'm going to tell you, I'll give you a secret. Don't tell anyone. If you're watching this, don't tell anyone, but this is the secret for you. The next story time will either be, it's one of two, either Helen Keller or Marie Curie. And both of those we did on Xavier Riddle. So they're going to tie into those. And we have the best special guest star in Helen Keller. I will just hint that it is fluffy. It's a fluffy guest star. That's all I could say. So thank you, Catherine. Okay, let's 3 more questions. Is this your favorite book? Says Ara in California. California, I'll tell you, my favorite author is this guy named Brad Meltzer. Sometimes I read his books, watch his TV shows, and use a mirror and just say, oh, Brad, you've done it again. This is one of my favorite books. My favorite of the kids' books are Abraham Lincoln. I love Jim Henson, Walt Disney. I love Helen Keller, too, because we put real Braille in the book, and you can feel the real Braille in the book, and kids, we just love that. I love watching kids kind of find their way through the book. Even my older kids like that one, and they like nothing I do. Okay, let's see. Gina says, from Elvis with the best name, 8 years old, will you be writing another presidential book story? So thank you, Elvis. I want to know, put in the comments right now. I'm actually curious. Put in the comments right now which president you want to see next. So we did George Washington. We did Abraham Lincoln. Who would you want to see next if you can do it? I'm curious, Elvis, who you get. But the closest you're going to get is Ben Franklin. He comes next. I'm trying to think if there's anyone, Xavier Riddle. Oh, you know who we do want Xavier Riddle? Who actually could be next? I forgot. Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt's pretty awesome. I would love to probably do him next. Oh, now they just said Teddy Roosevelt. That's right. I appreciate that. Okay, one last question. Okay, what's my favorite? Oh, Mount Vernon. Oh, Mount Vernon's asking this. What's my favorite story about George Washington? Oh, okay, so this is a good one. My favorite story about George Washington. First, I love he can dance. I love that he loses his election. But my favorite story about him is the fact that when he was president, he was so popular. When we won the Revolutionary War, he was so beloved at the time that he could have been the king. They would have been like, you're the king, be the king. We like kings, we're used to kings. And they could have done that. That would have been a really easy thing to do. But instead, he was like, you know what? I'm not going to do it. And that's why we really highlighted that part in here, is to remind your kids, right? We celebrate right now people who go on social media and say, look at me, look at me, look at me. Remember when humility was a great American value? We need to bring that back again. And if we don't, we're doing it wrong. And this is a little bit of what humility looks like, right? Someone who doesn't need it for their own power, but who gives up that power, walks away from it. Could have been president a third term, says I don't need it, right? Has faith in us, as it says in the book, and faith in our country. That's my favorite George Washington story. Now, with that said, I'm going to sign off. I want to thank you for joining us on the live stream. Thank you to Mount Vernon, who's so amazing. They are so good. Again, if you are watching, if you click the link to buy the book at Mount Vernon, the money goes to help the employees at Mount Vernon. And right now, the employees need help. We know so many people in the country need help, but go click the link, support Mount Vernon. Thank you for supporting Mount Vernon, supporting myself, supporting Storytime. We will see you next week at Storytime. Same Brad time, same Brad chat. Thanks so much.